Welcome back to another episode of the Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and what an amazing show we have in store for you. Obviously, we are in the month of February 2024, and we always like to celebrate our friends of diversity. And with us today is my friend, Lisa Jones, serial entrepreneur. She just has such an amazing story, and I am so blessed to have her in my life. And I hope that she impacts you as much as she impacts me. So, Lisa, welcome to the Credit Authority.
Thank you so much for having me, Rhonda. I'm really excited to be here with you today. This is a pleasure.
You know, you and I have known each other for a while now. And
Mhm.
I have, we always go back and forth. You'll post something or do something. I'm like, that's my girl. And then every now and again, I do something. You're like, oh, mama, you look, what are you up to? So we love to bounce these ideas. And I think strong alpha females, like we're a wolf pack. We kind of stick together. So I love that I have the opportunity to really highlight you for all the wonderful things that you do. So let's start with the beginning. You are just this on fire, fierce Black leader in your community. How did you get started and how did you know that you had a voice?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Rhonda. I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania, and I am not from what I would consider the best circumstances. But as a little girl, I knew I was different from my circumstances. I have to say, I just knew it. There was something inside of me. So from the age 18, I've just been going after my goals and dreams and just continuing to learn new things about life and entrepreneurship. And I'm just so excited. And every year gets better. So I have to say that it all started as a little girl in Pennsylvania and just having big dreams inside of me, and just little by little taking those steps and still taking those steps to this day to see my dreams come true.
There are plenty of people that I speak to that want to say that where they originated from was a big impact in their life, but that they really leaned on people to help, pull them out. Was there somebody specific in your life that helped amplify you and really help elevate you to who you are today?
You know, um, that's another loaded question. Your questions are great, Rhonda. But I must say, my spirituality is probably the biggest driving force. I am very spiritual. I love God, and I feel like He's been protecting me since a little girl and ordering my steps. So I have to say, my spirituality is probably the most important. But I have had people come in my life. I feel like God places all these people in my life, people I would have never expected, including yourself.
Yeah.
I can still remember the day I met you and how you've impacted my life and my career in such a short time. I mean, I was in the middle of one of the most major battles of my life when I met you. I was getting divorced. And I was going up against a very powerful man. And as for whatever reason, they always say, divorce is easy for the woman, and it's all no, that is not true. And so when I met you, it was just one of those times where I needed that guidance, and you were right there. So again, I believe God places the people that I need at the time, and that's how spiritual I am.
I love that. So you jumped into this journey of entrepreneurism, and your first company that you really were launching was all about what we call worldwide travel. Tell us a little bit about what made you want to become an entrepreneur and start your own business.
Well, Rhonda, it's called Worldwide Group Travel. And so my emphasis was on groups and events. And at the time, I had worked for a large corporation for 20 years. And I worked my way up into management. And I started off, believe it or not, I started off as a receptionist answering the phones. And I worked my way up to opening their Greenwich, Connecticut location, which was their flagship store, from the architectural plans to the bank accounts. and running the store in the owner's community. Out of his 300 stores, that was his baby. So for me as a Black woman to have been chosen for that position way back then spoke volumes. So, I mean, back to your question as far as, remind me again, the key point of that question was who?
What gave you that drive to just spearhead into entrepreneurism and opening up your first business?
Well, Me Too played a big part in it too. If you really want to be on, if I really want to tell my story,
Of course I do.
Me Too played a big part in that as well. I mean, to hear all this Me Too now, the things that women had to do in corporate is true. I can still remember going to those corporate meetings and those executives whining and dining us, and we knew what time it was. I'm keeping it honest with you, Rhonda. And there were plenty of times where I would be at some of those. We'd be out of the country somewhere for management conferences and executive leadership conferences with the corporation, and I saw things that I did not like, and I would always excuse myself. Excuse me, I'm going to the bathroom and I'll be right back. And I would never come back. And when we got back from those corporate meetings, certain women got promotions. And the talk was those women that stayed, and did what they were supposed to do, got promotions. And that's when I knew, oh no, if that's what I have to do to continue to move up the ladder, I'm not interested. And so at that was one of my defining moments, I would honestly say. And then I would also sit into corporate meetings and I would talk about things that I felt direction the company needed to be going. And one of them was combining travel and events under the same umbrella. Plenty of people would come in our offices and book group room blocks, but then we would have to turn them over to the hotel overseas event planner who didn't understand the communication, didn't understand what the bride or groom or whoever the event planner was trying to plan in location. So I saw that as a big need in the industry. And I would constantly bring it up at meetings as this additional source of income revenue into our company, but it kind of would go in one ear and out the other. So I saw that as a green light in my head one day to say, you know what, when I'm able to start my business, that's what I'm going to focus on. And that's what I did. And that's how Worldwide Group Travel got started. It was all about taking travel and events and merging it under the same umbrella. So we got fees for the travel side, and then we made fees on the event planning side. It just made sense to me.
You also have that personality and you are also very dedicated and organized. So I'm sure that did not hurt the scenario. But a lot of times when people are getting ready to launch their own business, they do have different challenges. Were you in a position where you opened your company and left your employment, or did you kind of piggyback doing both at the same time?
So I tried to do both at the same. I tried to at least. I got the majority of the things off the ground before I left corporate. So I had gotten my website started. I had applied for my EIN number. I had put some work in prior to leaving. But at some point it became a conflict and I had to make that. And I have to be honest with you, that was probably the hardest decision I ever had to make, was to leave the comfort of being with in a corporate position for almost 20 years, where I had worked my way up into management and now jump out into something on my own. So that was pretty scary. But I knew I had to do it, and I did it, and I started with that very first client, one client, and I still have that client to this day. And it's interesting because last week a referral came in, and she said, "I was at that very first wedding that you planned in the Dominican Republic." And I just was like, oh my God, like I have to help you. I have to book you're connected, that way to me from the very beginning. And so, I still get referrals because of that first wedding. So it was that very first client, and that client came from a personal referral. I will have to
With
say the client came from a personal referral. And I think that helped too. Somebody saying, hey, this is my friend. She's going into business. She's really good at what she does. and they gave me a chance. And to this day, it was Jasmine and Kwame. I won't forget. They were a DC couple from Washington DC, and I booked their wedding. And it's so beautiful to me to sit back and watch the children they've had now, the career moves they both made, and they're still happily married. And that's the other thing. I did a lot of destination weddings, and a lot of those couples I'm still in touch with. And so I think that's special too, that I get to see the number of people that I united in marriage or helped to unite in marriage, and the children that have come as a result to those marriages, and the businesses and the bonds. And it's just beautiful to watch as well.
I love it. Well, with that said, I'm just going to ask you, we have to just jump to a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Lisa Jones. And welcome back to the Credit Authority. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Kulch, and I am glad that you did not move that dial, because we are hot and heavy talking with entrepreneur Lisa Jones about her journey of entrepreneurism. And we were talking about how you originally created your first business and some of that backstory. But I want to also focus on the growth. You've had tremendous growth, and you started from worldwide group travel. And over the last few years, you've now created 2 more brands. So we have Jamaica Fit Trip, and then we also now have Black Travel Maine. And first of all, I love the travel part, the Maine travel part, because I know that I played a little small part in that. But I love your energy and your drive. And I want to just bring it back a little bit, because people who are listening love to be motivated. And you just have such a beautiful story about growth and determination. So let's start here as well. You are also now a single mother. You also like to travel, and you are very independent. How does that role play when you are, first of all, a wonderful mom to Maddie, and you are so dedicated to her, but you're also so dedicated to your business? How do you find that balance?
Well, I have to be honest with you. That is your co-partner. And women, when we choose our children and our families, as you have an amazing husband. The partner that you choose. Unfortunately, our marriage didn't work out, but we're both committed to our daughter, and she's number one in both of our lives. So without his support, I don't think I could be the entrepreneur that I am today. So I have to say that I will give credit to my ex-husband, who helps me a lot with our 15-year-old. She's now 15, and she's an amazing blessing in both of our lives. And she requires a lot. Children require a lot. And especially Maddie. Maddie's a special kid, so she really requires a lot. I mean, I'm sure everyone thinks that about their children, but you have to know Maddie to know that. So, I think it is a big balance, but we figure it out. And the most important thing is, when you're going through a divorce, or if things don't work out with your partner, just remember the children. There came a point where I had to disengage with all the nonsense and just keep everything focused on my daughter. And that's what ended up happening. And now we both have this great co-parenting situation where it really works. It really works. And children need both of their parents. And so that's important. So I would say that that's the balance.
I love it. And you both are very good parents. Now, Maddie obviously doesn't get to enjoy everything that you do with business, but I know you try to take her when you can. So tell us a little bit about Jamaica Fit Trip.
So Jamaica Fit Trip all started, and I heard Maddie tell the story to one of her friends recently. My mom was overweight and needed to lose some weight, and she started a business around it. I was like, wow, that's really what my daughter thinks of me. So my mom found a problem, and she said, okay, so 9 years, it's been 10 years actually. Yes, I was overweight. I was at the lowest point of my life. Coming through it out of a divorce, going through the divorce, and my mental psyche was off. And these young ladies came to me on the travel side, and they were influencers in fitness. And they said, we want to do a boot camp in the Caribbean where we take people away to work out. So I looked at them like, nah, people are not going away to work out. Where did you get this idea from? It just blew my mind to think that people would travel to the Caribbean to work out. So anyway, they were adamant. And I said, okay, so you ladies tell me what you want. I put the whole trip together for them. They started marketing it and we were sold out in 30 days on the first trip. And I said, oh my God, they're on to something. And so, originally I tried to partner with those ladies after that trip, but they had a different direction they wanted to go in. So their bloomed Jamaica Fit trip. I decided to, at that point, they did not believe Black people would go away to work out or, anybody would go away to work out. So at that point, I just started marketing it. And and I got some people to sign up on the first trip. The first trip was all pretty much marketing. I took down a lot of influencers. And from there, it's just grown into this beautiful brand where, people look forward to this trip every year. And it's about the mind, body, and soul, and just introducing fitness, showing people that fitness can be fun. It's just not about working out in a gym. You can do beach Olympics and, beanbag races and have fun on the beach doing stuff. And that is still working out. So it's just a matter of, showing people that fitness is fun. And then when I started to see the mental benefits for most of the people that were coming on my trip, they would come in one way and they would leave completely transformed. It was like we gave them a renewal for a year. And then I saw how, and one woman stopped me on the beach and she was like, whatever you do, you cannot stop doing this. This is a form of healing and spirituality. I'm like, really? And she's like, yes, you're touching souls. People are coming here, one way. And that's another part of Jamaica Fit Trip. We do have empowerment where I bring in empowerment speakers who, talk to people about, barriers and what's stopping them from, reaching their fitness goals and, leaving some of that in Jamaica and being able to continue on with the progress they made. And as a result, I lost almost 35, 40 pounds myself. And it's been a lifestyle change in 9 years. It hasn't been a yo-yo diet. It's been teaching people about a lifestyle. And
Which
fitness.
I love that. And it's very inspiring. And I love watching, the photos that you post. And just for the sake of time, I want to also make sure we talk about your new adventure. So share with us what you are working on in Maine.
So Black Travel Maine came about during COVID, actually, when all travel shut down. And a friend of mine invited me to Maine. And I thought to myself, Maine? Why would I want to go to Maine? There's nothing but lobster in Maine. And, in 30 years in travel, I never knew anyone who had an interest in going to Maine. So I decided, hey, let me give it a shot. And I went and I was blown away. I could not believe how beautiful Maine was. And not only how beautiful Maine was, how beautiful the people of Maine are. The real Mainers are some of the most beautiful people you'll ever meet. I mean, friendly, helpful. And I had never, I guess, encountered people like that. I don't mean to be, I went from the North Shore of Long Island where people aren't the friendliest, especially to people who look different. And then I went to New York City where kind of everybody minds their own business. And, so I went to Maine and me and my daughter in the supermarket and people were saying hi. And my daughter's looking at me like, Mom, they're talking to us. Like we couldn't believe it. And so, by the warmness and the friendliness of the people and then how beautiful it was. I traveled to places in Switzerland and in Europe that look just as beautiful as some of these lakes and, mountains of Maine. And so, as I discovered it, and then I started to discover that we have a lot of Black history in Maine that has not been told. And, we have all these markers and we have the Freedom Trail and we have the third oldest meeting house for African Americans is in Portland, Maine. Nobody knows that. And so as I started, discovering how beautiful Maine was, then the history, I started to discover our Black history in Maine and all of the untold stories. And so I started a company where we are doing tours. So when I first came to Maine, I discovered through the Maine Office of Tourism, their own statistics, that 9 out of 10 visitors to Maine are white. When I found out that statistic, I wanted to know why. How can that be? Why are 9 out of 10 visitors to Maine white? And so I just started a group on Facebook, and I just started sharing the beauty of Maine to all people, to Black people, anyone who wanted to follow me, that wanted to know. And you know what I found out? When I first started posting and asking and showing pictures of Maine to Black people, a lot of them would respond and say they didn't think Maine was safe. They didn't think they were welcomed in Maine. And so I don't know where that narrative came from. And I just I just wanted to show people my experience in Maine. I get in my car and I could drive hour by myself as a Black woman into these little towns, and I have been welcomed, greeted, offered coffee. I mean, so I don't know where this narrative that Maine is not safe for people of color came in, and maybe it's because of the demographics. But that's not what I've experienced here. And so I'm building a brand here, and it's called Black Travel Maine. And we had 2 tours already. We had one in August, and then we just had a ski weekend. And when I tell you what a beautiful time we had on our MLK ski weekend, and it's going to be an annual event now. I took people from DC, Atlanta, New York, all over the country came up to Maine, and we skied. We took over a mansion. We had a mansion. We took over a mansion, and then we had a tour throughout the city of Portland. Portland has a lot of Black history, so we did a city tour. We ate amazing food. We had a DJ. I mean, when I tell you it was an amazing time, it was just an amazing time. So yeah, Black Travel Maine, keep following us. That is my newest brand, and it's really about exposing Black, brown, multicultural people to the state of Maine.
I love it. Well, Lisa Jones, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have been as motivated as I was by listening to her beautiful story. Stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you information on next week's show.